Hello guys, welcome to Ashok DevOps. How do you persist or store container data using Docker? To persist data on Docker, need to use Docker volumes. We need to use either bind mount or volume mount. So in a Docker host, the container will point Docker host file system either using bind mount or volume mount. So let's see this with an example. Let's jump into the terminal. So here I have a Node.js based app. It is a to-do app. So this will write contents to one SQLite DB. This is my Docker file. So let's build this application. So to build the application, let's run docker build -t and give it a name for the image. I am giving it as node app and then current directory and enter. So this will pull the node 18 Alpine image, and on top of that it will copy our files and it will build the application image. So now the image build is completed. Let's try to run this image. So I am running this image using docker run -d -p 3000 :3000 and then give the image name and enter. So this will create a container, and we can see that by using docker ps command you can see one container is running on port 3000. Let's go to Chrome and access the application. Now I am in the Chrome. Let's open the URL localhost 3000, enter. So this will bring up to-do list application. Let's try to add some to-dos. So I have added 2 items. So now let's stop this container and see whether we're able to store the data or not. So now I'm going to Docker desktop and stopping, and I'm deleting this container, and we will start the container again to see whether our data is persist or not. I'm using the same command docker run and enter. This will bring up a new container. Here also you can see it is up and running. Let's try to access URL. Refresh this. So now we can see the previously added items are gone whenever we delete the container. So to store our container data, we need to use volume mount or bind mount. So to persist that, we will use first volumes. So let's create a volume. First let's stop this container. You can use docker stop also and copy this ID and paste. This will stop, and you can use docker rm to remove the container. The container is removed. Now let's run this container using volume. So for that we'll create a volume using docker volume create my to-do db. Enter. So this will create a to-do volume. If I use docker volume and ls, I can see the volumes. This is my volume, my to-do db. So to run our container with that volume, we need to use command docker run -dp and then port and then mount type volume and then source my to-do db and target and then image name. Enter. So this will create our container with the volume my to-do db. Let's access the application now. Refresh the page and add some items. So once the items are added, now try to stop the container and delete the container. So now our container is gone. Now we will try to run the application again with the same command and see whether our data is there or not. Let's open a new tab and access URL localhost 3000. So now we can see our data is persist after removing our container also. So we can also write data to this container. So now let's see using docker volumes. Let's stop this, remove, and now go to the terminal, and now we will try to run using docker volume bind mount. So for that you can run docker run -d -p 3000:3000 and -v. We need to provide one location. So I will provide one local location of my system to store the files. So I will use user Ashok DevOps documents folder to store our to-do file, and : you need to provide the docker container db file. So in the SQLite.js you can see the folder where it is storing the to-do db file. You can copy this and paste here and then enter the node name, image name, and enter. So this will create a container with volume as our local system directory. Now access the application in a new terminal, new window. Let's go to the app localhost 3000. Now I can see the previously added db contents in this application because I already have one SQL to-do db file here in our local system. So from this data it is showing these items. So let's try to add a new item. And stop this container and delete it. So now we'll try to create the container again using the volume and browse the application in a new tab. So now we can see the latest data is visible inside our application after deleting the container also. So these are all the commands we have used. We have used volume, and we have used docker build to create the image, and docker volume to create that volume for the db, and we have used this command docker run to mount volume to this volume, and then we have used bind mount for the volume. For the local system directory, we have pointed to the docker, and we have persist the data on the container. So by using this docker volume and bind mount, we can persist the data. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.